All right, Senate will come back to order. Secretary will read the committee report.
Mr. President, the Senate State and Local Governmental Operations Committee has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation: that House Bill 484 do pass by substitute, that House Bill 457 do pass by substitute, that House Bill 661 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Liggett III, Chairman. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Do we read the report? Senator from the 43rd, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to suspend the Senate rules for first readers.
Read the caption.
Senate Bill 277 by Senator Ramsey, the 43rd, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to incorporate the City of DeKalb and DeKalb County, to provide for a charter for the City of DeKalb, to provide for other matters relative to the foregoing, to provide for a referendum, to provide effective dates and transitional provisions governing the transfer of various functions and responsibilities from DeKalb County to the City of DeKalb, to provide for severability, to provide for an effective date, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes.
Is there objection? Without objection, we'll assign the bills to Slogo. Or the bill. Read the other caption.
Senate Bill 278 by Senator Ramsey, the 43rd, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to incorporate the City of Stonecrest into DeKalb County, to provide for a charter for the City of Stonecrest, to provide for other matters relative to the foregoing, to provide for a referendum, to provide effective dates and transitional provisions governing the transfer of various functions and responsibilities from DeKalb County to the City of Stonecrest, to provide for severability, to provide an effective date, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes.
Is there objection? Without objection, we'll assign the bill to Slogo.
Through with the order, Mr. President.
What we got? Chair recognizes Senator from the 6th.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate agree to the House amendment to the Senate substitute to House Bill 463 as amended.
Read the caption.
House Bill 463 by Representative Rice of the 95th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 7 of Chapter 2 of Title 40 of the OCGA relating to motor vehicle license fees and classes so as to change the registration rates under the International Registration Plan for Apportioned Vehicles and for other purposes. Amendment 1, Senator Hill of the 6th offers the following amendment. Amend the House amendment to the Senate substitute to House Bill 463 by deleting lines 134 through 152 and inserting in lieu thereof the following. Section 3, Code Section 48-5-442.1 of the OCGA relating to the valuation of commercial vehicles for ad valorem tax purposes and for other purposes. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 6th.
Good evening. I'm here to briefly talk about the amendment to House Bill 463 that the House did, and then I'll briefly cover the amendment to their amendment. As you remember, this was a good fix for local governments to help assess the value of used cars under our new title fee plan. And what has been added is a change to how we collect ad valorem revenue for commercial vehicles. Currently, the problem that we're facing at the local level is they have to go through both the state and the county to register their commercial vehicles, and this fix makes it so commercial vehicles just have to register through the state. The state will collect the money and distribute it through to the counties. If there are no questions, I will yield the well.
You want to answer questions? Or, Chair recognizes Senator from the 56th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
I will.
Senator, isn't it true that this bill went through the Senate Finance Committee?
It did.
Senator, would you yield for a series of questions?
Yes.
Senator, isn't it true that some of this language was actually in the bill before it was amended in finance?
Some portions of this bill were in the bill in our Finance Committee, and we did remove some of the language that's now been put back in.
Senator, isn't it true that by adding trailer and semi-trailer that there will be a fiscal impact?
There will be a fiscal impact to the counties, not to the state.
And what are those fiscal impacts, Senator?
It's going to be a net even, basically, is how it's been articulated to me through the fiscal note.
Senator, will you further yield?
Yes.
We have a fiscal note on this?
We do. It's it was put on your desk yesterday, or excuse me, Tuesday, because this bill was expected to be covered at that time.
Will you yield for another question?
Yes.
Did that fiscal note include the trailers and the semi-trailers?
I don't know the answer to that.
Senator, isn't it true that it did not?
It may not have. But
Thanks,
again,
Senator.
this bill is a fix for revenue to counties on ad valorem taxes.
You have a couple, several more. Chair recognizes Senator from the 42nd.
Well, Senator Yield.
Yes.
Am I correct that this House amendment, you're asking us to agree to this House amendment as you've amended it? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And this House amendment has never passed the Senate before today. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And did it ever pass the House? Do you know? I mean, it's just a lot of language,
Yes.
and it's a long bill.
It passed the House with no dissenting votes, Senator, and then we amended it in committee, And then we just passed it earlier today, and then now they've re-amended it.
Okay. And you're comfortable with the House amendment, the 4 or 5 page amendment that adds the new section for a portionable vehicle is registered under this subsection or whatever?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Senator.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 9th.
Will the senator yield?
Yes.
We also, do you have an amendment to this amendment?
Yes, it should be on your desk. AM 340623.
And what does this amendment do?
It's an administrative fix that adds trailer or semi-trailer, further explaining what a commercial vehicle is.
What committee did this come out of?
It came out of finance. You and I sit on that together.
No, in the House, what committee did it come out of? Do you know?
It came out of the motor vehicles.
Is that what we were told earlier?
It was a mistake, I think.
All right. When you say this came out of finance, are you saying the number 463 came out of finance, or are you saying these 5 pages came out of finance?
What came out of finance was 2 pages that we passed this morning, and then it went over the House, and then they've added an amendment that now makes it about 5 pages.
Will the senator further yield?
Yes.
When this bill was before us in the Senate a few days ago, unbeknownst to you or me or anyone else sitting here today or anybody on that finance committee, there were also problems in that bill that the Department of Revenue came up to us afterwards and told us about. They may not have told you, but they told me about, as far as a certain tax exemption, sales tax exemptions, and so forth. Are you aware whether those things are taken out of this bill?
I'm not. It sounds like that was a private conversation with yourself and the Department of Revenue.
Well, I'm not sure it was a private conversation, but if that is not taken out of here, we may be giving a sales tax exemption that was not even brought up in the Senate Finance Committee. Are you aware whether that is in this bill or not in this bill?
I'm not aware specifically, but what I am aware of is that there was a fiscal note suggesting that the impact is $100,000, which is essentially negligible.
Will the senator further yield?
Yes.
Have you talked to ACCG about this?
Yes, ACCG is fine with this language, and that is why they've offered this amendment so that they can be more fully supportive of it. Mr. President, I'll yield the well.
No, there are more questions unless. Chair recognizes Senator on the 19th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield.
Yes.
Senator, agreeing to the House amendment to the Senate substitute as amended by the Senate is a fairly complicated bill, isn't it?
It sounds very complicated.
Senator, I'm not sure of what all transpired in the Finance Committee or with the House. My question, though, is, did you say that someone who is currently maybe having to deal with the county and the state with IRP tags will now only have to deal with the state?
That is correct.
Thank you. I have about 10 of those tags.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 31st for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the senator yield?
I will yield.
Could you speculate for me why a bill on dealing with Title 48, which is taxation, why that would be assigned to a motor vehicles committee?
Well, since you asked me to speculate, the vast majority of the measures that are discussed here are having to do with motor vehicles.
The taxation thereof or the regulation thereof?
The ad valorem taxation.
You yield for a few more questions?
Yes.
Earlier, another senator asked you about the impact of this bill, and I believe that you stated that it would have an impact on the county and not the state. Is that correct?
Correct.
And would that impact result in an increase in revenue for county governments or a decrease in revenue for county governments?
It's basically a net with the information that we currently have. And to further explain that, the way it currently works is you get your vehicle registered in a county, and then you also have to register it in the state, and that's about a $9.5 million cost currently if we were to get rid of the current process. But a lot of commercial vehicles, because of the convoluted system, are not registering their vehicles in this state, and so we're losing revenue as a result of that. This change will make it easier for commercial trucks to register in this state, and therefore they will, and we will then funnel that money down to the counties.
This $9.5 million cost, is that a $9.5 million cost to local governments, state governments, or owners? Or someone else? Whose cost is the $9.5 million?
The cost would be the commercial vehicle owners. The beneficiary would be the counties. And with this change, the counties will get nothing from the commercial vehicle owners because that will go all to the state. And then the state will give it back to the counties through a formula. All the parties that are affected by this legislation have agreed to this legislation.
Are you aware of the fact that the Constitution allows the state to collect up to 1/4 mil on ad valorem tax, and that we had some legislation a few years ago that reduced that? I think we're currently at 0.15 mils.
If the senator so speaks.
So would you agree that it does have a financial impact to the state then if we were going to get 0.15 mils in ad valorem tax?
Well, we're the ones collecting all of it, so I'm sure that we'll work that out before we distribute it back to the counties.
So it would have a financial impact for the state as well as the counties?
That's not how I understand it. I disagree with you.
So who would get the 0.15 mils of ad valorem tax that is currently allowed under the Constitution and law that has always gone to the state?
I'm sorry, it's getting a little loud in here, so I couldn't understand.
Quieten the chamber down.
So the law provides for 0.15 mils of ad valorem tax to be collected and remitted to the state that goes to the state general fund. And this is going to exempt these vehicles from that 0.15 mil. Is that correct, or am I misunderstanding the way ad valorem taxation takes place?
You may be. I think that this measure is, as I've said before, of no financial impact to the state.
That's the part that I'm struggling with. I know that we currently collect 0.15 mils. This exempts them, and it doesn't have an impact. Would you agree that perhaps it would be responsible for us to have a fiscal note on finance bills that we take up?
We do have a fiscal note, and what they've said to us is that the impact is negligible, but specifically $100,000. So,
at your convenience, if you would, I'd like to get a copy of that fiscal note. Thanks for your help.
Absolutely.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 33rd.
I will.
Senator, isn't it true that this revenue in the long term is going to be the ad valorem tax, which is $9 million they're talking about, is going to replace in the long term by the international registration, where every state sends money back to the state where they're going to be traveling, and that it will actually provide $16 million in the long term.
Thank you. Yes, Senator, that is correct.
And there is no negative financial impact to any great degree, the only positive in the future.
That's correct.
All right, thank you. It is true also, Senator, that we're going to be able to have, through the international deal that we worked on, we're going to be able to receive money for all trucks coming through Georgia instead of just the ones registered here.
That is correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yeo?
Yes.
Senator, isn't it true that this is not a new tax, it's just a simpler way of collecting an existing tax?
That is correct.
And Senator, isn't it also true that there's really no impact on state revenues, but it deals with the county level taxes?
That is correct as well.
Senator, isn't it also true that there's no tax increase for Georgia-based vehicles of any kind in this legislation?
That is correct.
And isn't it also true, Senator, if you will yield, that the effective date is a year away to give the Department of Revenue the time to adjust to this simpler way of collecting these taxes?
That is correct, Senator.
Isn't it also true, Senator, why I support your bill?
I think so. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator.
I'm going to yield the well. I just think this is a good measure, and it makes sense for our local governments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes Senator from the 9th. Speak the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me start off with the Georgia Code 28-5-42, which says bills of significant impact on the anticipated revenue, expenditures, and so forth. It says under number 2, the failure to request a fiscal note by November 1st, as provided in paragraph 1 of this subsection, precludes consideration of a measure by the Senate, unless the committee to which this bill is assigned determines that the bill has no significant impact, which it did not, or requests a fiscal note, which it did not, or determines that such a bill did not have a significant impact, which it did not. In fact, in Finance Committee all year, we have been waiving that rule, and to be honest with you, that law needs to be changed, because in all the years I've been down here, I don't think I've seen a fiscal note dated before November 1st. So the law needs to be changed, but it is the law. Under Senate rules, we talk about that as well. The senator from the 6th mentioned earlier that ACCG was fine with this. In fact, that's what I was told. ACCG was fine with this. There's no problem. They don't have any problem with it. I met with ACCG and said, "Are you fine with this?" And they said, well, they didn't say, "Oh yeah, we're fine with it." Now, the argument on the other side would be they didn't say they weren't fine with it. But when the counties, when you trust but verify, and you talk to the counties, and the counties say, "Are you fine with it?" And they say, "Well, I'm not really sure." You ought to listen up. Now, the Finance Committee in the Georgia State Senate did listen up, and the Finance Committee rejected 90% of House Bill 463. They rejected about 90% of it. Oh, you could debate whether it's 90% or 80%, but the meat of the bill was rejected by the Finance Committee. Now, the Trucking Association has an issue and they want to solve it. Have they had an issue for 1 year? Yep. Have they had the same issue for 2 years? Yep. Have they had the issue for 5 years? Yep. But this bill is so important, it's so important, it wasn't even introduced into the House until day 22. Wasn't even introduced into the House until day 22. February 22nd was the day it was introduced. So important that we introduced it 22 days into the session. This problem didn't arise yesterday. This bill has nothing to do with the title fee bill we passed last year, nothing whatsoever. This is an issue that they want fixed, and I'm not suggesting it doesn't need to be fixed, but it doesn't need to be fixed overnight. It doesn't need to be fixed overnight. This is something that needs to be looked at over the summer, studied, and we need to determine whether it's right or not right. We don't need to just move forward with a bill. This bill came up in the Finance Committee. It was on the last day that we were taking finance bills, and the Finance Committee rejected the entire portion of this bill that we're adding back now. And I would say, if you don't care about the law and you don't care about Senate rules and you don't care about the fiscal notes, at least we ought to care about we ought to care about the committee process. We ought to care about the committee process. This totally goes against the committee process. No one in the committee, not a single person on the committee, voted to have this added to it. Not one person on that committee. I will also say, as the bill came before the Senate committee, and I asked the senator from the 6th this question, was he aware of another problem with the bill, which he wasn't? To be honest with you, neither was I, neither was anyone on the Finance Committee when we rejected it. But we found out after the meeting was over, after we rejected this portion, that there was a sales tax exemption put in here. Not a homestead, but a sales tax exemption that was put in there unbeknownst to us. I will assume by mistake, and I'm sure it was by mistake. But again, another mistake that's in the bill that we didn't know about. Now, it's taken out of this pink copy. It's not in this pink copy. But you don't know what else is in this pink copy. You don't know what's in this pink copy. We're reading it. We're reading it. But this process where all of a sudden we decide, you know what, we don't like that you have to pay taxes at the county level and then you have to pay a fee at the state level, and we're going to let all the money go to the state level. And then we're going to reimburse the counties. Now let's go a little different way on that. Let's not let all the state funds go to the federal government and let the federal government decide how much they're going to give back to state government. How many of us like that? Oh, we wouldn't like that. We don't trust those boys in Washington or gals in Washington. But in the state of Georgia, we don't mind taking these county funds, moving them to the state, and let the state figure out how to redistribute them to the counties. Because that's what we're doing in here. We saw some numbers the other day. It's interesting. We saw the senator from 6 talked about this only costing $50,000, $60,000, $100,000, whatever. I saw some numbers the other day that showed it costing doubling the tax, bringing in $18 million, where right now they assumed it was about $9 million was being brought into the counties. So if you're voting for this, are you voting for a tax increase? That's a good question. I think the senator from 10th asked that earlier. Well, we don't know. We don't know whether it is or isn't. But we know the monies are changing totally the way they're being done today. It's going to be totally changing the way they're doing it today. This bill's been in the legislature for 18 days. We were told in committee that it came out of Ways and Means. Didn't come out of Ways and Means. Came out of Public Safety, which the author of the bill's committee, which he chairs. It just quickly came out, came over to us. We had it on one of the last few days of the session, and we we unanimously rejected this. I would ask the Senate of Georgia, for a number of reasons, to vote against this bill, to let it sit over for a year. If we reject this bill, It's not dead. It just means it's not passing this year. Let it sit over for a year. Respect the committee process when the committee has unanimously voted against it. Not one member of that committee has voted for it. The rules of the state Senate, which suggests we need a fiscal note on it, the law of the state of Georgia would tell you we needed to at least either take a fiscal note on it or make a motion to say it didn't have a fiscal impact to the committee, which we did not. And I would hope that we would vote this down and move on to important matters before us. If there are no questions.
There are questions. Chair recognizes Senator 10th.
Mr. President, would the senator yield?
I will yield, yes.
Senator, isn't it true that 27 other states don't apply this kind of tax?
If you want to argue the merits of the bill, I would love to argue the merits of the bill, but the arguments for the merit of this bill should have taken place in the Finance Committee. And the Finance Committee of the state of Georgia unanimously rejected this, and only through these shenanigans are putting it back on the floor.
Senator Yale?
Yes.
Senator, are you going to answer my question?
Excuse me?
Are you going to answer the question that I asked? The question that I asked you was whether or not it's true that 27 other states do not have a tax like this on trucks, including Tennessee and Florida. Isn't that true, Senator?
If you say so.
Senator, isn't it also true that 6 other states, including Kentucky and Mississippi, use this method of collecting taxes?
If you say so.
Senator, isn't it also true that Georgia-based fleets like UPS avoid this tax by moving their trucks outside of Georgia?
I don't know that that's true.
Senator, are you willing to take my word, since I've researched it, and UPS is one of those companies?
I would not doubt the senator from the 10th in any way, shape, or form.
Senator, isn't it also true that we passed a bed tax in about 6 days in this General Assembly?
I'm sure you're correct on that.
Senator, further yield?
Yes.
Senator, you recall the very first day we were in session that second day I believe, we took up this tax?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
Do you recall, like, the second day we were in session that we took up this bed tax this year?
If you say so.
Senator, isn't it also true that that tax has a much greater fiscal impact than this bill?
I would tell you this. It's a positive impact to the state of Georgia. There's no doubt about it. I would also tell you that the bed tax was discussed and discussed and discussed for months. This General Assembly knew about the bed tax and had discussed the bed tax and knew it was coming up for renewal for the last 6 months. And so we had a full discussion on it. I doubt that even a freshman member of this body did not know some of the impact of the bed tax before it hit this floor. Which is part of my problem with this. We've had this bill on our table for 90 minutes. And when this bill, again, I'm trying not to repeat myself, but we keep on asking questions, I will. When this measure was looked at in the Finance Committee to look at all those things, the Finance Committee rejected what's in front of us.
Senator, further yield?
Yes.
So, Senator, it sounds to me like your only concern is that the Finance Committee did not have enough time to consider all the merits of this bill?
Oh, no. The Finance Committee had time. We probably should have had more time, but the Finance Committee rejected this bill. The Finance Committee absolutely rejected this bill. Now, maybe if we had more time, and I am saying let's lay it on the table and look at it over the summer. I am saying that because a lot of measures, let's go back to 386. Is that the right number from last year? But we studied that bill for 2 years. We all voted for it, and then we found out, whoops, we made a mistake here. Whoops, we made a mistake there. We're about to pass a new way of taxing trucks. And I'll guarantee you, if we pass it, we'll come back next year and say, whoops, we didn't think about this. Whoops, we didn't think about that. When the ACCG is, when you're told ACCG is fine with this bill, and I ask ACCG, are you okay with this bill? And their answer is, well, that sure doesn't sound like they're fine with this bill. And think about it. Why would a county be okay with taking money away from the county that the county's getting right now, giving it to the state? Would you as a county commissioner like that? Would you like giving the money to the state because the state's going to give it back to you in proportional correctness? My county's looked at it. My county's not real happy with it. I'm sure other counties are looking at it too and saying they're not so hot about it. We're taking all this money that right now goes to the state of Georgia, some of it, and some of it goes to your local counties, probably some cities, but mostly counties. And we're saying we're going to give it all to the state of Georgia. And the state of Georgia is going to turn around and give it back to the counties. No wonder the guy said, well, I'm not too sure about this. No wonder the Senate Finance Committee rejected this. I can't imagine why this was such an important issue that it was introduced. It was dropped. The first day it was dropped was day 22. The first day it sat. This has been an issue for a long time. This trucking issue just didn't pop up yesterday. This trucking issue has been there for a long time. And on day 22 of the session, more than halfway through the session, is the first day it's dropped. That is true. Yeah, it is. February 22nd, it was dropped.
Senator, further yield?
Yes.
Senator, I know you're relying a lot in your argument on ACCG. Why is it that I've not received anything from ACCG, nor do I see anything on my desk or any of the other 55 senators in this chamber's desk?
Well, because ACCG is being strong-armed by a person over in the House. That's why. And that's why when I say, well, you know, when I ask ACCG the question, are you for this bill? And their response isn't so hot. And I'm like, well, you know, that didn't sound like an overwhelming, resounding positive.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate your responses.
There are, there's a lot of questions. You willing to continue?
There should be a lot of questions, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Chair recognizes Senator on 33rd.
Senator Yield.
Yes, sir.
Senator, we have a bicameral legislature. Is that not right?
That is true, unlike Nebraska.
Thank you for answering the question directly. Let me ask you, the reason we have a bicameral legislature is because not only finance tax bills start in the House and we deal with affirmance and people being appointed and things of that nature, but there are two different opinions. And, you know, we call ourselves a deliberative body, and it's hard to call ourselves that when both teams have 2 years. But let me ask you this question. What I want to know is the trucks are being treated differently now with ad valorem taxes than other vehicles. Is that right?
Trucks, I don't know how. You have to tell me how they're different.
Well, with the new tax bill and the registration with cars and everything like that, trucks are still being treated differently.
Trucks are different than cars, but I think they've always been different than cars. But
I think they've always been different than cars, but they're still got the ad valorem taxation is a little bit different in the new bills that we passed for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. And isn't it true that we're losing some of this industry because they're deciding not to be domiciled in Georgia because of the onerous situation they feel like they have now?
That is the argument for passing this, yes.
And Senator, isn't it true that February 22nd was 44 days ago?
February 22nd was day 22 of the session, but it was over a month ago. Okay, it was over 44. A month ago. You
yield further?
Yes.
44 actual days.
Okay.
let me ask you, haven't we passed some legislation that's come in about halfway through the session or even later in the past that we found was necessary?
Yes, that's true.
Isn't it true, Senator, that the Finance Committee, of which I'm part, and you, like other friends on the committee, and you are my friend, it was at your insistence that be stripped from the bill. Is that right?
No, I don't think so. I think the chairman of the committee called a recess for a minute and got the group together, and the group said, and the chairman of the committee asked, what do you want to do? Do you want to kill the whole bill? That was one choice that the chairman of the committee threw out. Another choice that they threw out was, do you want to pass the whole bill? And the third choice is, do you want to save part of it, and what part do you want to save? And the part we wanted to, the part that the consensus of the entire group that was standing there. I mean, it was not me. The consensus of the entire group that was standing there, because the chairman brought it up, was to keep the part in there that talked about. I'm trying to find it in here right now. The part in here that talked about, and I don't see it right now. But I'm wondering if it is in there. But the part that talked about mileage.
You further yield, Senator?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And let me say this. Having a fiscal note, which it did, saying that there was a negligible amount affecting the state, that was indeed present. Is that right?
No, there was no fiscal note on this bill in the committee whatsoever.
Well, when they sent it back, did they send it back with a fiscal note?
When we passed the bill here this morning, it did have a fiscal note on it, yes.
Correct. All right, let me ask you this. Doesn't the state collect hundreds of millions of dollars for the counties?
I'm sure, yes, they do, sure.
And we return it to them, don't we?
Yeah, yes, we do.
So to trust the state in returning money based on a mathematical formula is not a big risk, is it?
You know, I think counties and cities would somewhat, well, I won't tell you, I won't speak for them, but they sometimes can argue with you about different fees and taxes and things like that, and whether these monies get reimbursed to the coffers.
Well, a couple last questions, Senator. I'll let you go.
Sure.
Isn't it true that with the new international registration that we have in the United States, that these monies will also be sent back to Georgia, and that we won't be losing money with truckers that come through here using our state roads, and that the net gain to the counties, while it's negligible to the state as far as dollars go, it's a gain for the counties of $7 million.
If you want to suggest that there's a $7 million tax increase, I thought it was more like a $9 million, but if you want to say it's a $7 million tax increase, I won't disagree with that.
Senator, actually, you're calling something a tax increase, which is a registration formula that would capture the trucks using our roads. Is that right?
It would increase the revenues of the state of Georgia. I thought by about $9 million, maybe it was $8 or $7 million.
It's the difference. 16 million was the overall. Senator, you and I are good friends, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
We will be tomorrow.
I know we will be.
Today, we just disagree on the bill. Thank you.
I think we will.
There's, you want to continue to answer questions? You do? Chair recognizes Senator from the 45th. Who is burning for a question after Senator from the 45th? Otherwise, take your light off. I promise I'm not using my hands. Somebody said I paid for that microphone, right?
Yeah.
Hold on, we've got a... Dana, what's the... Sorry, but the Secretary of the Senate's already in retirement mode. He's kicking out on the front porch over there on the side with his wife. All right, try it now.
With Senator Yield?
Yes.
Senator, is it not true that when we attended this finance meeting that lasted several hours, and this particular bill probably lasted over an hour, is it not true that when you and I walked downstairs to our office that a employee from the Department of Revenue went down with us and asked us the question, Senators, do you realize there was a tax exemption in that bill?
Yes, when you and I were leaving after the meeting was the first time that we found out that there was a sales tax exemption in the bill. Oh, by the way, we rejected the bill luckily beforehand, but we would have passed the bill without knowing the sales tax exemption was in there because we quickly are trying to do something. Yes.
Senator, would you further yield?
Yes.
Senator, is it not true that the same thing could be happening now, that we're expeditiously trying to get another amendment in here and that we could be doing the same thing again, and that I agree with you that it does no harm to lay this over, come back next year and have this thoroughly vetted?
Senator, I couldn't agree with you more, and I'll give you one other example that should be down that very same line. Earlier this year, we had House Bill 80 in committee. We had a hearing at 8 o'clock in the morning that lasted 2 hours. We then read the bill for the first time, broke for a few minutes, went back into committee, only to find out we had 3 new amendments to it we'd never seen before. We hadn't discussed it in the committee. There's just 3 new amendments to it. One of those amendments gave an exemption on title fees to military people, which I kind of questioned because military people don't need an exemption because military people register their car whether they want to register it. My brother registered his car in New Jersey, didn't live in New Jersey for 30 years. He had a driver's license from New Jersey. He had a tag from New Jersey, but we were exempting because of the same author of this bill. We were exempting military people. And I asked the question to finance that day, 3 hours after the first meeting, why are we exempting military people? Who asked for this? No one knows. Where's it coming from? No one knows. No earthly idea. You are absolutely right. We thoroughly vetted this bill and rejected it. We rejected this entire bill in the Finance Committee, and now it's sitting before us for an agree, which I'm shocked that the Senate is taking up an agree and taking that position against the Finance Committee of the Senate.
Senator, would you further yield for one last question? Is it not true that it's been previously stated that ACCG agrees with this, but that our county that you and I represent of almost 1 million people has trepidation about this bill and is it encouraging us not to vote for this bill? Is that not true?
Our county has asked us not to, and ACCG has some trepidation with this bill as well. And I think many of your counties will have trepidation with it too if it ended up passing. I think we need to reject this bill, let it sit on our desk. Again, this was not introduced until day 22 of the session. This is an issue that's been around. The senator from 33rd talked earlier about, do we not sometimes take up late bills? Yes, the Supreme Court rules on something or Supreme Court of the state rules on something and we take something up quickly to address that. This has been an issue that's been around. It's been around for years, and now we're all of a sudden deciding that at the last moment, on the last day, we need to pass something that the Senate Finance Committee unanimously rejected. Unanimously rejected.
Let's see. Chair recognizes Senator from the 56th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
Yes.
Senator, isn't it true that on January 14th of this year, every one of us stood in this chamber with our left hand on a Bible and our right hand in the air and said we would uphold the laws of the state of Georgia?
Yes, we did.
Isn't it true that we also then voted on a set of rules for this chamber?
Yes, we did.
Isn't it true that we're violating both of those things if we go forward with this bill?
We absolutely would be violating the Senate rules and the laws of the state of Georgia. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. And the respect to the Finance Committee that unanimously voted against this bill.
Senator from the 31st, I think. Do you have a question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. Does the senator yield?
Yes, I do.
Senator, isn't it true that we want Georgia to be attractive to businesses, including those with trucks?
We absolutely want Georgia to be attractive to business, including trucks.
Senator, when the bill's sponsor was in the well, I inquired about a physical note, and he said that he had one, and I went to his desk and got one, which I have photocopied and provided you with a copy of that physical note. What date do you see on that bill, on that physical note?
The fiscal note was dated 3 days ago, March 25th.
Did we have a finance committee on or after that day, to your knowledge?
The Finance Committee was before that date.
So this fiscal note was dated after any action from the Finance Committee?
That's correct.
Senator, will you look at, I think you've got your bills and stuff there in front of you. This fiscal note is on a bill, LC 348860, LC 3886S.
I didn't notice that, but that's correct.
All right. So you've got the bill that came out of the Finance Committee. The one that I have here is LC 343889S. We have got we've got the House substitute.
Time has expired. Senator's time.
I'll just make two last comments and I'll get out of here, Mr. President.
Time's expired, so be very quick.
I will. The comment made by the senator from the 31st is absolutely a great comment. The fiscal note that you have before you is on a bill that's not this bill that's before you. This is just another example. Here's a fiscal note, but it's not for this. It's for another LC. I'm telling you, when the author of the bill tells me it came out of Ways and Means and it came out of his committee, and then all of a sudden you get a fiscal note, but it's not on this LC. Now, these things don't match. We need to reject this bill. The Finance Committee unanimously rejected this. We need to vote against this bill out of respect for the Finance Committee. We need to let it lay on our table, take it up next year, look at it over the summer, and decide what needs to be done to be more attractive to the state of Georgia. This issue didn't pop up yesterday. This issue's been there for years. The author didn't need to put it on the hopper until day 22, and we don't need to take it up. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 19th.
Mr. President, I move the previous question.
Move the previous question. Is there objection? Without objection, the previous question has been ordered. The senator from, take my light down, clear my screen. The senator has moved that the Senate agree to the House amendment to the Senate substitute as amended. All of those in favor will vote ayes. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. Chair recognizes Senator from the 49th.
Thank you,
What purpose
Mr.
you
President.
rise?
Mr. President, isn't it true that United Parcel Service is one of the largest truck owners and operators in the United States, and they are in fact based here in Atlanta, Georgia, but do not have one single truck registered here because of our onerous taxation laws that this bill addresses? And isn't it further true, Mr. President, that this will streamline the tax process and streamline the licensing process because when a guy goes to get his truck license renewed, it takes him over 2 months to get a license to operate his truck.
Senator has great, don't forget to vote. The senators that has great passion for which he speaks. Chair recognizes Senator from the 9th.
President, I hope that we would vote no to this bill, being that it's a bill that did not come out of finance out of respect for the Finance Committee, which did not vote for this bill but unanimously rejected it.
Senator has great passion for which he speaks. On the motion to agree to the House amendment to the Senate substitute, the yeas are 40 and the nays are 14, and the Senate has agreed. Whew, I'm dizzy now. We're going to take a few more bills off the table now. So everybody knows, let me give you 4 other bills that are coming off the table. HB 182, that's Senator from the 23rd. Senator from the 23rd, HB 182. Senator from the 7th, this is HB 323. Senator from the 1st, HB 366. And Senator from the 12th, HB 385. Those are 4 bills that will be moved upon. Let me make it very clear to every senator and every member out in the hall that is lobbying. A senator has to request a bill to come off of the table. If a senator does not request it, it does not come off the table. There's no magic wand. Everybody understands. Senator from the 39th, what purpose you rise?
I rise, point of order. The last bill that you told us about was House Bill 385, is that correct? Was that 385?
No. 238.
238.
That HB 182, 323, 366, and 238. Gave you those 4 right there. Chair recognizes Senator from the 23rd. You've got an opportunity to get it tonight. No, whoa, Senator. Have we moved?
I gotta move it. Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to move HB 182 from the table.
Read the caption.
House Bill 182 by Representative Weldon of the 3rd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 1 of Chapter 11 and Title 15 of the OCGA relating to juvenile court administration so as to delete provisions and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. The Senate Judiciary offers the following substitute to House Bill 182. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 1 of Chapter 11 and Title 15 of the OCGA relating to juvenile court administration so as to delete provisions and for other purposes. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection? Without objection, Chair recognizes Senator from the 23rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. HB 182 does a couple of things. It's a companion bill to juvenile justice reform. It authorizes courts to appoint associate juvenile judges with the requirement that they be members of the state bar. It also eliminates the practice of automatic rehearings in juvenile matters. That had been a carryover from the days when non-attorneys had been appointed to be temporary juvenile judges. If there are no questions, I'll yield the well and ask for consent and support for HB 182.
No questions. The question is on the adoption of a committee substitute. Is there objection? Without objection, committee substitute is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agree to report to committee. Which favor pass the bill? Chairs none. Report to committee is agreed to. All of those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the pass the bill, the yeas are 52 and the nays are 0. And this bill, MC Rex, Constitutional majority is therefore adopted. Chair recognizes Senator on the 7th. Move a bill off the table.
Mr. President, I move that House Bill 323 be removed from the table.
Read the caption.
House Bill 323 by Representative Powell of the 32nd and others. A bill to be entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 1 of Title 40 of the OCGA relating to identification and regulation of motor vehicles so as to modify the age for operation of certain commercial motor vehicle operators and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Public Safety recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. The Public Safety Committee offers the following substitute to House Bill 323. A bill to be entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 1 of Title 40 of the OCGA relating to identification and regulation of motor vehicles and for other purposes. Amendment 1, Senator Harper of the 7th and others offer the following amendment. Amend the Senate Public Safety Committee substitute to House Bill 323 by replacing line 688 with the following. An application fee in an amount to be determined by the Commissioner pursuant to Code Section 45-12-92.1 and for other purposes. Amendment 1A, Senator Harper of the 7th and others offer the following amendment to Amendment 1. By inserting on line 3 after Commissioner, and such amount shall not exceed the total direct and indirect costs of administering the program and for other purposes. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection? Without objection, Chair recognizes Senator on the 7th. Present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be short and sweet as possible, not to pick on my height. But House Bill 323 is the motor carrier compliance bill. This bill is for the Department of Public Safety. It codifies certain rules and regulations into place into Georgia law. It also has a provision in there that provides our farmers and ranchers in the state of Georgia a broader exemption from federal and state regulations. This was supported by Georgia Farm Bureau and other members of the agricultural community. This bill helps ensure accountability and helps enhance consumer protection for all Georgians. I would encourage your positive vote for this measure as it moves forward. There are some amendments to this piece of legislation that I've dropped. Amendment 1 specifically deals with the application fee with dealing with the towing permits in the bill. It was part of that language was stripped out in committee, and we have went back and we have fixed the language to be codified and help it line up with what is in Georgia law currently. And to the best of my knowledge and from the research we've done, this is completely doable. And 1A, all 1A does is make sure that such amount that this department is going to keep does not exceed the total cost of administering the program for which that fee is associated. And I would appreciate your support on Amendment 1A, Amendment 1, and then the underlying piece of legislation. And Mr. President, if there are no questions, I will yield the well.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 26th for a question. We're not going to spend all night on this bill. A lot of issues to deal with. Let's get them handled quickly.
Senator Yee.
How you?
Why do we take the age to 21? I'm just curious. I mean, you got guys in the military who go in and end up banging up their knee, and then they get a discharge, honorable discharge, who could go to work as a freight driver. Why is it that you have age 21 on?
What line are you referring to, Senator? I believe I know what language you're referring to, but I want to see it in the bill. Is it line 39?
Well, I have to pull the 223, so it would be on the back page. It would be line 39.
Well, that deals with if they stay within the state, they can be 18 years of age, my understanding. But if they go interstate, which is outside the state of Georgia, they have to be 21, and that brings us in compliance with federal law.
Chair recognizes Senator from 28th. Nope, waves it off. No further questions, Senator.
Thank you. I would appreciate your support of the amendments and the bill.
By the Senator. Questions on Amendment 1A by the author. Senator from the 7th. Is there objection? Without objection, 1A has been adopted. Now the question's on 1 as amended. Is there objection? Without objection, 1 as amended is adopted. Now, the question's on the adoption of the committee substitute as amended. Is there objection? Without objection, committee substitute as amended is adopted. Now, does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? All of you in favor of it, vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, yeas are 55 and the nays are 1. And this bill, AMC Rex constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Chair recognizes Senator from the 1st.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent for House Bill 366 to be taken off the table.
Is there, read the caption.
House Bill 366 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 35 of the OCGA relating to employment and training of peace officers so as to classify the application of provisions and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Public Safety recommends that this bill do pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection? Without objection, Chair recognizes Senator from the 1st.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, I bring before you today House Bill 366. This does just a couple of things. First of all, the Executive Director of Posts will have the authority to have emergency suspension of anyone who has a certified officer, not just peace officers. If they have a certificate from Post, then he has the authority. This gives him the authority to have emergency suspension of their license. The other thing it does is that in the past, for the officers to take the post examination, it was paid for generally by the agencies, and they had to wait 6 months. Now it's being paid by the individuals. Therefore, we are making the time that they have to wait only 30 days. Mr. President, if there are no questions, I would ask for your favorable support of House Bill 366.
No question, Senator. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection to the Grid and Porter Committee which fail to pass the bill? All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the pass the bill, the yeas are 54, the nays are 0, and the Senate has passed HB 366. Chair recognizes Senator from the 12th.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent for HB 238 to be removed from the table.
Read the caption.
House Bill 238 by Representative Maxwell of the 17th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 47-4-101 of the OCGA relating to retirement benefits payable under the Public School Employees Retirement System and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Retirement recommends that this bill do pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair, is there objection? Without objection, Chair recognizes Senator from the 12th.
Colleagues, HB 238 is a bill that increases the Georgia firefighters' dues for those that are enrolled in the Georgia Firefighters Pension Fund by $10 monthly. Each firefighter or volunteer firefighter accepted for membership in the fund shall pay to the fund the sum of $25 monthly for each month of service as a firefighter or a volunteer firefighter in a fire department. Such an increase, monthly increase, shall be due on or before the 10th day of each month of service. This is an increase of just $10 monthly. And Mr. President, if there aren't any questions, I will yield the well.
You do have a couple questions. Chair recognizes Senator from the 34th. Let's quieten the chamber down a little bit. 34th is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
Yes, I will yield.
Senator, isn't it true that most firefighters support this legislation?
Want the legislation? Yes, they do.
Thank you, Senator. Will you further yield?
I sure will.
Senator, would you go ahead and model that hat for me?
It's this hat belongs to Senator Mullis, and he told me I'd better not, and oh, God.
All right, that's a pretty picture right there now. Absolutely. School teachers will do anything. Chair recognizes Senator from the 40th.
Senator Yields.
Yes, sir.
Senator, isn't it true that probably nobody unofficially or officially as lobbyists have worked harder for a bill than the firemen have been down here this whole session?
You are absolutely correct.
Thank you very much.
I'm telling you. Thank you very much, Senator. If there aren't any more questions, I will yield the well.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agreed. Report of committee which favor pass the bill. Chair is none. Report of committee is agreed to. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Chair recognizes Senator from the 56. What purpose you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to be excused as vote for Senate Rule 5-1-8D.
Without objection, the senator will be excused. Senator from the 49th, your light is on. You wishing to be excused as well? You sure? All right. They can't be on the floor. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. Steve, they can't be on the floor.
I just ran them out.
Yeah. Now who brought them in?
Jeff, he wasn't finished. I told them that, especially when their bill up, I said, y'all wrong. They understood. What? I don't even think it was their fault.
Yeah. Yeah. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 55, the nays are 0. This bill, having Syrax's constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. The next bills will be available are Senator from the 29th, HB 189. Senator from the 53rd, HB 482. Senator from the 23rd, HB 480. And Senator from the 27th, HB 139. That is 189, 482, 480, and 139. Chair recognizes Senator from the 29th.
Mr. President, I move to remove House Bill 189 from the table.
Read the caption.
House Bill 189 by Representative Buckner of the 137th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 12 of the OCGA relating to parks, historic areas, memorials, and recreation generally, so as to require the Department of Natural Resources to notify local governing authorities and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Natural Resources and the Environment recommends that this bill do pass. Amendment 1, Senator Orrick of the 36th and others offer the following amendment. Amend House Bill 189 by inserting after authority on line 5 to amend Code Section 36-37-6 of the OCGA relating to disposition of municipal property generally, so as to provide for the transfer of certain park property and for other purposes. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from 29th. Is there objection? Chair recognizes Senator from 29th to present HB 189.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 189 simply provides that anytime the Department of Natural Resources is making a permanent change in services for a state park, historic site, or recreational area, that they will provide 60 days notice to the governing authority of each municipality and county where the state park is situated. There is an amendment that's going to be offered, and I don't think this is something I get to say very often, but I have no objection to the amendment being offered by the senator from the 36th. If there are no questions, I'll yield the will.
No questions. Chair recognizes Senator from the 36th on her floor amendment. Has it been read?
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, the Amendment 1 on this House Bill 189 would simply enable, in a very specific set of circumstances in my city, over in the historic King District, for the city to exchange some parkland that is dedicated to parkland, and this language is enabling language that applies only to that circumstance. I'd appreciate your support for the amendment and support for the bill. Any questions? If not, I'll yield the well, Mr. President.
There are no questions, Senator. Questions on the adoption of the floor amendment. Is there objection? Without objection, the floor amendment is adopted. Question now is on, does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection granted? Report of committee which fail pass the bill? Chair is none. Report of committee is agreed to. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the pass of the bill, the yeas are 54 and the nays are 1. This bill, having received the constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes Senator from the 7th.
President, I move the Senate adhere to its amendment to the House Bill 104 and a conference committee be appointed.
Read the caption.
House Bill 104 by Representative Carson of the 46th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 40-2-86 of the OCGA relating to special license plates so as to add a special license plate supporting the Appalachian Trail Conservancy and for other purposes.
Chair will appoint. Is there objection? Without objection, we will appoint Chair Senator from the 7th, Senator from the 16th, Senator from the 25th, Senator from 25th, Senator from 16th, Senator from 7th. Chair recognizes Senator from the 22nd. No, excuse me. Somebody's getting 53rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to move House Bill 482 off the table.
482, read the caption.
House Bill 482 by Representative Neal of the 2nd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 42 of the OCGA relating to Board of Corrections and the Department of Corrections so as to provide that employees of the Department of Corrections serving as certified peace officers may retain their weapons under certain circumstances and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Public Safety recommends that this bill do pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 53rd. Is there objection? Without objection, Chair recognizes Senator from the 53rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a great bill before you tonight, and it is House Bill 482. This allows retiring employees of the Department of Corrections, State Board of Pardons, and Paroles to retain their weapon after they have honorably left the agency by retiring from 20 years or more services. I appreciate your vote. I yield the well.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agreed. Report of committee which fail to pass the bill. Chair is none. Report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Or are there any objections? Chair is none. The main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question on the pass of the bill. All those in favor of the bill vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the pass of the bill, the yeas are 52 and the nays are 1. And this bill, having received the constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 23rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for unanimous consent to remove HB 480 from the table.
Read the caption.
House Bill 480 by Representative Ballinger of the 23rd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 17-8-54 of the OCGA relating to persons allowed to be present in a courtroom when a person under the age of 16 testifies concerning a sex offense and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Judiciary and Non-Civil recommends that this bill do pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection? Without objection, chair recognizes senator from the 23rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. HB 480 simply allows for victim advocates to remain in the courtroom of a sex offense trial when there's a witness under the age of 16 testifying. I urge your vote in favor of HB 480. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection agreed to report of committee which fail pass the bill? Chairs none. Report of committee is agreed to. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 54 and the nays are 1. And this bill, having received the constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes Senator from the 27th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for consent to remove HB 139 from the table.
Read the caption.
House Bill 139 by Representative Hamilton of the 24th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 16 of Title 15 of the OCGA relating to general provisions regarding sheriffs so as to revise the general qualification requirements for a sheriff and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Ethics recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. The Senate Ethics Committee offers the following substitute to House Bill 139. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 16 of Title 15 of the OCGA relating to general provisions regarding sheriffs and for other purposes. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection? Without objection, chair recognizes Senator from the 27th, even though he wasn't waiting at his desk.
What? What did he say? Thank you, Mr. President. I'll try to be brief on this bill. There's something occurred the last election cycle with the sheriffs, especially up in my county. 3 of them ran for the position, and all 3 of them didn't bring certified copies of their birth certificates when they qualified. Somebody noticed that, and we started looking with the Georgia Sheriff's Association and found out this could be a real problem. You're supposed to present them 60 days before you qualify. Now, I don't know about you, but I couldn't find my high school certificate if I had to, much less get a certified copy of it. So this bill corrects that situation and says they have 14 days after filing and qualifying. If anybody wants to object to it, they can after you qualified. And that's what this bill does, is clean this up and avoid a problem with any future races with the sheriffs. Thank you, Mr. President. No questions. I'll yield away.
No questions, Senator. Questions on the adoption of committee substitute. Is there objection? Without objection, committee substitute is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agree and report to committee which fail to pass the bill. Chair is none. Report to committee is agreed to. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary unlock the machine. All right, listen up. The next 4 bills that are going to be available are Senator from the 1st, 302, House Bill 302. Senator from the 29th, House Bill 382. Senator from the 54th, House Bill 446. Senator from the 1st, you're a lucky boy, you're getting 2 and 1 pick here. HB 179. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51 and the nays are 0. And this bill, MC Rex constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes Senator from the 1st.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent for House Bill 302 to be taken off the table.
302, read the caption.
House Bill 302 by Representative Broderick of the 4th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 13 of Title 16 of the OCGA relating to controlled substances so as to add substances and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Health and Human Services recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. The Senate Health and Human Services Committee offers the following substitute to House Bill 302. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 13 of Title 16 of the OCGA relating to controlled substances so as to add substances and for other purposes. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection? Without objection, chair recognizes Senator from the 1st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, I bring before you today House Bill 302. This is the annual drug update that we do every year that moves drugs from one schedule to the other. It is an agency bill, and I would ask for your favorable support of House Bill 302. Mr. President, if there are no questions, I'll yield the well.
No questions, Senator. Questions on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Granted, the Report of Committee which fail pass the bill. Chair hears none. Report of Committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chair hears none. Main question is ordered. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 52 and the nays are 0. This bill, amnesty records constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes Senator from 29th.
Mr. President, I move to remove House Bill 382 from the table.
382, read the caption.
House Bill
Senator from the 50th. Go
House
ahead,
Bill
read the
382 by Representative Powell of the 171st and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 51 of the OCGA relating to general provisions for torts so as to limit liability for a governing authority of a school that enters into a recreational joint use agreement with a public or private entity and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. The Senate Judiciary Committee offers the following substitute to House Bill 382. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 51 of the OCGA relating to general provisions for torts so as to limit liability for a governing authority and for other purposes. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection? Without objection, chair recognizes Senator 29.
Mr. President, it's my privilege to present House Bill 382. This bill should look familiar to you. We passed it as Senate Bill 12. All it does is provide a mechanism for joint use agreements between school districts and not-for-profit organizations to give children more opportunities to be active after school. With that, Mr. President, I'll be glad to yield to questions. If there are none, I'll yield the well.
Question on the adoption of committee substitute. Is there objection? Without objection, committee substitute is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. Senator from the 54th, stand by. On the passed the bill, the yeas are 55, the nays are 0, and this bill, having City Reps constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes Senator from the 54th.
President, I ask unanimous consent to remove House Bill 446 from the table.
Read the caption.
House Bill 446 by Representative Peaks of the 141st and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 29 of the OCGA relating to guardian and ward so as to provide for certain additional notice requirements for a proposed ward who resided in another state prior to the submission of guardianship and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection? Without objection, Chair recognizes Senator from the 54th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, House Bill 446 is a guardian and conservatorship bill. It is designed to provide notice to family members in the event of an elderly person being a petition being filed for guardianship or conservatorship when it's done across state lines, so that if someone moves to another state, their family members will be aware if someone else is trying to gain control of that individual's estate or otherwise. It has the strong support of the Alzheimer's Association and many other folks interested in elder law and elder care. If there are no questions, Mr. President, I yield the will and ask your favorable consideration.
Is there objection? Does any other senator from 38th, what purpose you rise?
Mr. President, I want to see if the gentleman would yield.
The senator is yielding as he is trotting back.
Sorry, Senator. I yield.
Thank you, Senator. I have one technical question, I guess. How are they going to notify the other family members? I mean, how would you even know that there are other family members?
The petitioner would be required to state anyone whom the potential ward had lived with within the preceding 6 months.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? As the objection agreed, the report of committee which failed pass the bill. Chair is none. Report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chair is none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question on the pass of the bill. All those in favor of the bill vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary will unlock the machine. Hey, Jack. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0, and this bill having C-Rex constitutional majority is therefore adopted. Chair recognizes Senator from the 52nd.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to remove House Bill 179 from the table.
179, read the caption.
House Bill 179 by Representative Welch of the 110th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 6 of Chapter 4 of Title 26 of the OCGA relating to pharmacies so as to change certain provisions and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Insurance and Labor recommends that this bill do pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection? Without objection, Chair recognizes Senator from the 52nd. It's also great to have the First Lady of the 52nd District present to watch the good senator stumble across this bill tonight.
Thank you for that kind introduction, Mr. President. Currently, under state law, pharmacy benefit members are allowed to recoup the cost of a drug from a pharmacy if the pharmacist makes a technical error such as using the wrong color of ink pen to initial the prescription. House Bill 179 does not allow a PBM to recoup the cost of the drug for such technical errors. House Bill 179 also allows pharmacists to have up to 30 days after an audit is performed to produce documentation such as an original prescription from a doctor to address any discrepancy found during an audit. House Bill 179 passed the House 161-0 and hasn't received a single no vote in the House or our Senate committees. If there's no questions, I'll yield the well.
We do have a question, Senator. Chair recognizes Senator from the 38th.
Will the senator yield?
I'll yield.
When you were saying the very first example of why they would not be able to recoup, I didn't understand what you were saying. I just wanted clarification on why you said the first reason they would not be able to recoup.
There any sort of technical error that they made, such as probably the most egregious example would be using the wrong color of a pen.
Using the wrong color of a
color
pen?
of an ink pen.
Oh.
They could reject it.
Okay. Thank you.
No further questions, Senator.
Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agree on the report of committee which is favorable pass the bill. Chair is none. All of those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary, unlock the machine. The next bills that are going to be available, please listen up, senators. Senator from the 22nd. I do not see him, but his bill, the senator from the 22nd, SB 211 will be available. Senator from the 51st, HB 497. Senator from the 29th, HB 499. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 49 and the nays are 1. This bill, MC records constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Chair recognizes Senator from the 22nd. 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to remove House Bill 211 from the table.
211, read the caption.
House Bill 211 by Representative Benton of the 31st and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-9-3 of the OCGA relating to levy of motor fuel excise tax so as to exempt public school systems and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Finance recommends that this bill do pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator 22nd to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, I ask for your favorable consideration of House Bill 211. What this bill simply does is it proposes to exempt the purchase of motor fuels by public schools from the operation of school buses, the excise tax, and that's all this bill does. We ask for your favorable consideration. It's just for a 2-year period of time. And, Mr. President, if there are no questions, I will yield the will.
No questions, Senator. Where are we at? Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is the objection agreed? The report of committee which favor pass the bill. Chair is none. Report of committee is agreed to. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will light the machine. Chair recognizes Senator on the 15th. 33rd, he'll be excused on the next vote. Senator from 33rd without objection. Chair recognizes Senator from the 51st.
Mr. President, isn't it true if you vote yes for this bill, you're going to cut $6 million of revenue from the DOT? If you vote no, you'll keep the $6 million in road fuel tax money in the budget for the DOT for school work as well.
Uh-oh, I don't think that was explained to everybody in the chamber.
Vote no. How's that? Vote no.
I think it's too late. I think it's too late. On the pass the bill, the yeas are 36, the nays are 16, and the bill has passed. You ready? Senator from the 37th, are you ready? 37th, are you ready for your motion? Are you ready for your motion?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, I move that the Senate recede from its position on House Bill 238 and accept the House position with great agony. I'd encourage all the senators to vote their conscience on this bill.
Chair is asking you to vote your conscience. Chair recognizes Senator from the 41st. What purpose you rise?
To inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Would it be appropriate if we recede from our position to no? Would that then be the consideration for passage, or would that be it?
No. If you recede from the Senate amendment and agree to the House amendment, it passes. If 29 votes are not sustained for that, then the Senate would be in a position to insist.
If the senator could just go down, since this is a passage vote, and in 36 seconds describe what it is. I believe we've done over it twice. Sure. This is the 58, 30, 65 thing, I think, with SSOs, or?
Chair recognizes Senator on the 37th.
Mr. President, I apologize. I gave you the wrong bill number. Which bill? Were you calling the Senate bill or a House bill?
House Bill 238.
It's actually 283. It's a House
283,
bill, but they have not
283.
given me the language on that bill yet.
283. Huh?
$65 million bill.
It's House Bill 283. 283. It's 283. It's the one we voted on a moment ago. Chair recognizes Senator on the 40th. What purpose do you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Chairman, I believe this is the one with the $65 million cap for the Student Scholarship Organization, and it's a bill that contains the rest of the funding for education, and I urge us to follow the chairman's lead and vote yes on this.
Chair recognizes Senator on the 54th. Speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for clarity's sake, just so everybody knows what they're voting on, this is the version that we've debated earlier in the day. The only change that's going back and forth right now is on the cap number. This is to recede and agree to the $65 million. That's the first choice. And as the President indicated, if that motion fails, then we go into special orders, and the next step would be insist. But this is to agree to the House version as it came over this morning, the very first time we debated it, and that's the only thing that's been changing back and forth. Mr. President, if there are no questions, I would yield the will.
There is a question, or I'm sorry, would somebody have a question? No, there is a question. Chair recognizes Senator from the, okay, I'm sorry, the lights are, I'm not lit up. Chair recognizes Senator from the 26th first.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
No parliamentary inquiry. You have a question for the senator in the well? No? Oh, that's fine. Senator from the 42nd is recognized for a question. You can get to the
Senator yield?
I yield.
Isn't it true that we passed this bill with appropriate transparency and an increase in the amount, and that it has now come back asking for another increase, essentially, higher than the one we already passed?
That is true. It's the amount that the House originally sought.
And if we vote no, we'll be insisting on our reasonable increase rather than the one that's greater than that.
Reasonability, of course, is in the eye of the beholder, but you're correct as to the factual statement.
Thank you.
Probably. Well,
on the what? Question? No, shoot question. Chair recognizes Senator 36 for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield.
I yield.
Isn't it true that if the House prevailed, we would in effect be increasing by more than 23% the dollars that are put in this program already?
I don't always trust the senator's math, but I'll accept you on this occasion.
Thank you so much, because it is between 23 and 24%. And I just wanted to know, Senator, where's the money tree? Who found the money tree? We passed a budget, and that's not in our budget.
Well, Senator, I will let you make your own decision about the appropriate nature of spending. The money tree is where it always is, taxpayers of Georgia. It's where all the money comes from that we spend. It's where all the credit money comes from.
And don't you think the taxpayers have demonstrated over a long time that they would like to have their public schools funded? They would like to have a 180-day school year funded. They would like to have the teachers in Georgia taken off of furlough. And they would like to have our classroom sizes back where they're an appropriate number, and to go and spend money on this, which a green vote would do, would be increasing this by 23% when we have teachers furloughed.
I think we all want great education for the citizens and students of Georgia. I yield the well, Mr. President.
Yields the well. Chair recognizes Senator 42nd.
Mr. President, I'll be brief. There are 56 senators in here. There are only 4 that do not represent a school district that is going to school less than 180 days. In other words, unless you represent Gwinnett County exclusively, or if you're the senator from the 1st, every single one of us, other than those 4 senators, are representing at least one school district that's going to school less than 180 days a year. And what we're talking about now is whether the SSOs who are going to get for private schools an extra $7 million, and they are going to hold hostage the transparency that we agreed to, the amount of money that we agreed to, which is an increase. And they just want more for private schools. It doesn't make sense. Let's vote no. Do not recede. Join me and the chairman of the Education Committee in voting no, and we will then insist on our position, which is reasonable. It's an increase, and it gives you the transparency that you want. This is just a hostage situation that we don't need. Please vote no. Thank you.
Senator has yielded. Senator from the 26th, you feeling compelled or what? Nope, waves it off. Senator has moved that the Senate. Senator from the 56th, you wish to be recognized?
Thank you, Mr. President. Folks, we have a chance right now to do the right thing, and the right thing is going to be to pass this bill. It's got important things for transparency and cleanup on it, as well as this. We are consistently ranked per capita with adjusting for inflation, the top 3 in education spending. We do not have a money problem. We have an options problem for our students, and this is a great way to do it. Please vote yes. Thank you.
The senator has moved that the Senate recede from the Senate amendment and agree to the House amendment. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine.